Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to card 10 of my 2019 holiday card series. Today I am going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be using just one colored image on my card, and that is going to be Winter Bunny. He is one of my favorite classic Lawn Fawn images, and I thought it would be great to revisit him today and just pull out one of my older stamp sets, just because not everybody has the wherewithal to have all the new, latest, and greatest images. So I just wanted to show you guys that you can still go back and visit your older images and bring them to life once again. So I'm using E000, E00, and E21 for him. So the E21 is my darkest shade, and then the E00 was my mid-tone, the E000 was my highlight, and then I added a little R11 for his cheeks. I did a little W00 for his tail. And now I'm going to use E44, E47, and E49 for the sled. I'm putting a little shadow underneath his body, but I'm not being too specific with it because this is wood and I wanted it to have some different wood grain texture and a little bit of striations. I didn't want it to be too perfect. So then I'm blending out with the E47 and finishing with the E44. Just went back over that E47 a little bit to smooth that out. And then I'm going to move on to his scarf. I'm using R29, R39, and R59, my favorite red combo. Using the R59 first to add in some shadows, mostly toward the back of his neck, and then just a little bit right under his nose. And then I'm going to come in from both sides of the part of the scarf that's kind of unfurling in the wind there, and also the part that's kind of bent as it's twisting, and just add a little bit of depth in those areas. Then I'll bring in the R39 and pull that out just a bit more, just softening up the edge of the R59 and getting ready to transition into the R29, which is going to be that nice bright Christmassy red. And then those darker reds just add so much depth to it. So now I can go in and fill in everything that remains, and that will give me that nice highlight. I just love the way that this image is illustrated. I think there's so much movement in the way that he's drawn. You can just see that he looks like he's having so much fun, and it's going to look even better once we put him on a snowy hillside. And now that he's done, I'll just trim him out with the matching dye. So I have really been loving the combination of purple and red lately, and I wanted to use that on a holiday card, so I thought I'd do that today. So I am using some Seedless Preserves Distress Oxide ink on a piece of Bristol Smooth Surface cardstock, and I'm applying that pretty heavily because I want it to be super vibrant. So I'm going to do about the middle section of the panel, and then I'm going to bring in Dusty Concord at the top and just really blend the transition of those two together. You will have to go back and forth a few times, especially with these Distress Oxide inks, because they like to just cover up the previous color so you don't get a nice transition. You get kind of a line there. Well, it works the same with the regular Distress inks too. It's just different properties, but you do have to go back and forth to get that nice blend. And then I'm going to bring in some chipped sapphire just at the top. I wanted there to be a little bit more definition around the top edge and try to create like a vignette just to kind of really focus the viewer's eye in the center of the card. So I'm going to go back with my Dusty Concord and blend in the chipped sapphire, and then back again with the Seedless Preserves, just working back and forth until I have a look that I'm happy with. Then I'm going to try out the new Lawn Fawn Liquid Stardust. This is the first time that I am using this product. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out onto my work surface and then pick that up with a paintbrush and splatter it all over the background. And it doesn't show up really well head on, but when you tip it into the light, you can really see that sparkle. And I'm not going to blot that up. I'm going to let that dry as it is. I'm also going to grab some snowflakes from the Ready Set Snow stamp set, And I'm going to ink those up in the Dusty Concord ink and just stamp those onto the background as well. These are just going to be something subtle in the background. Some of them won't even be visible, but it'll just be like an extra layer of depth and dimension, just a little bit more going on. So I just thought that would be a nice thing to add, and I'm just going to keep twisting that acrylic block and getting all of those snowflakes down where I want them so that the panel is nice and full, so that some of them will show through once I get done. While that panel is drying, I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. So I am treating a piece of black licorice cardstock with a powder tool, and then I am going to heat emboss a sentiment from Ho Ho Holidays. So I'm just stamping that down in Versamark ink, which is just a clear sticky ink that works great for embossing. And I did stamp that down twice, but I didn't press really hard so that the letters didn't get kind of squished. And then I'm just coating that with some white embossing powder, tapping off any excess. And then I'll bring my heat tool to that, heat it up from the back side first, and then bring it to the front. And that helps with warping, but I didn't heat it long enough from the back, so I did go back to try to straighten that out a bit. But I just heated that until it was nice and glossy. And now I'm going to stamp on the inside. I'm using the Winter Fox Mini and stamping that in juice box ink. And I used both the image and the sentiment on the inside. Then my panel is dry, so I have trimmed that down with the outside in stitch rectangle stackables, and that's going to leave a little bit of a border showing around all the edges. I thought that light purple cardstock would just really accentuate the purples that are more vivid on the background panel. I took the forest border and die cut that at a steep angle out of some more white cardstock. So I'm going to lay that down on my card, and then I also took the stitched snowflakes dies and cut out a bunch of snowflakes. I thought it would be super fun to have these large scale snowflakes just tumbling out of the sky, and it would really give that nice wintry feel. And I liked the juxtaposition between the large snowflakes and then the tiny trees, and then Winter Bunny is kind of like a smaller scale compared to them as well, or at least compared to most of them. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue to the backs and then set an acrylic block down on top to help them dry nice and flat. And now you can see why a lot of those purple snowflakes in the background are going to get covered up. But I just thought, you know, having a little bit of them show through would be nice. It's just kind of a little bit extra dimension there. And it also creates some more dynamics on the card since you have the really large scale snowflakes kind of in the front, and then the tiny little snowflakes that are stamped in the background. They're just going to be like pushed even further into the distance because in relation to these white snowflakes, they're just so much smaller. So it just creates some more depth. So I did die cut 2 extra of the small ones because I wasn't sure how many I would need to fill up the card. I only had to use 1 of them up in the top corner. I'm going to let those dry for a few seconds, and then I'm going to glue down my forest border as well, just making sure to add a tiny bit of glue to the back of each of those trees as well so that they lay down nice and flat. And then I'm going to flip my card base over and just take a pair of scissors and trim off any excess of the snowflakes that are hanging over the edge. I took the Scripty Joy die and trimmed that out of some chili pepper cardstock from Lawn Fawn. And I'm going to do kind of like a 2-part sentiment. So I'll add a little bit of liquid glue to the back of the Joy, and then I'm going to put that down in the lower portion of the card. Just make sure that I have that lined up in the center before I press it down so I don't smear glue where I don't want it. And then I'll just dot a tiny little bit in to add the dot on the top of the eye and just set that into place. And then I've got my Winter Bunny, so I'm going to add him onto the scene as well. And he's going to be just flying down that hillside. Super cute. I love that red with the purple again. I just have really been loving that combination lately. And then I'm going to grab the rest of my sentiment, which I have trimmed down with one of the everyday sentiment banners, and I'm going to adhere that overlapping the red joy. I thought it would just tie in really well. May your holidays be jolly with the joy sentiment. So I was just figuring out where exactly I wanted to put it. I didn't want to cover up, you know, the word too much so that it's illegible, but I decided like right down towards the bottom of the O was going to be the perfect place. So I just smoothed that into place. And as a final embellishment, you guessed it, I'm going to be using some crystal stickles. So I'm going to add quite a bit to the little snowflakes, just using little dots here and there at a lot of the little connection points or the tips of the triangles, just anywhere that I thought it would look good. I just wanted them to really sparkle and shine once they are tipped into the light. So I'm just using that nozzle and some steady pressure on that so that it's continually flowing, and I'm getting pretty much the same size dots everywhere, and that way I can go through pretty quickly and add all these little sparkly details. Once I finish up the snowflakes, I'm also going to add a bit to Winter Bunny's scarf. I wanted him to have a bit of that Christmas magic as well with that pretty glitter. And that is going to complete my card for today. So I'm going to lift that up to the light so you can see how it sparkles and shines. And I'll give you another peek at the inside as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed revisiting an older and beloved Lawn Fawn image and kind of concentrating a little more on the dies this time and just kind of creating a dynamic look with those. If you love Winter Bunny as much as I do, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and if you're not subscribed, I invite you to do that. If you are subscribed, go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can always be alerted when my videos are live. And if you'd like to see day 10 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series, those are on screen right now, so you can check those out. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.